All right, we are recording. G'day, I'm Mike
We're
Irving,
live. Hi, I'm Kaz Makepeace. Thanks
and
for
this is
joining us.
thank you. This is an end of 2015 wrap up to talk about what's happened in the last year and maybe do a little cheeky little of an announcement of what's happening next year.
Yeah, lots of great things coming. So, Craig's my husband. Mike here is my friend and business coach. And so we thought, why not? We're going to start blabbing more next year. So we thought, why not end the year sharing our thoughts on the importance of taking some time to reflect on the year that's just gone by and looking at what worked, what was a highlight, why it worked, and then, of course, looking at what didn't work or what were some really great lessons or themes for you throughout the year, because obviously that's power and fuel we want to use to then continue to create great things in our life.
Yeah, absolutely, 100% agree. And I find that what a lot of people are doing at this time of year is they're busy planning for next year. They're busy making sure that next year is all in line and in order, and they actually don't take the time to really properly review the year that just was. So that's our intention for the morning this morning, and then we will talk a little bit about next year. So.
Yeah.
Kaz, do you want to start? What was your year like? You were still traveling at the start of this year, weren't you?
Yeah, we're over in WA. Actually, we were meeting you for the first time in person.
We were celebrating down in Margaretha.
We were. So the year kicked off with a lot of travel. We were finishing our road trip, and one of the lessons that I learned, a couple actually, and I wrote a post about it, was that it's okay to quit and to really listen to your inner voice. And it was probably just after Margaret River, maybe a little bit before I started feeling that I was kind of sick of the travel. It was exhausting and it was too much, but I felt an obligation to continue doing it because we'd started this journey. It was kind of like we'd made, I guess, a promise in a way. I felt like we'd made a promise and we told our readers we were going to do all of these things. So I kept pushing on, but it just wasn't feeling good for me, and I knew it wasn't the best thing for us to continue doing. So that was a big lesson for me. It was okay to change course, and even though you may have made promises to people, it's okay to say, this is not working for us anymore. It's time to make a change.
Yeah, I the way that I have looked at that myself in the past is that I know for me, when I make a decision, I make that decision based on the current set of information that I have about that decision, and it's really easy to then go, okay, well, I've made that decision now. That's it. I'm in. The thing that I think is important to remember is that when you make a decision, you make it on that current set of information, and if at some point in the future you get a new piece of information about that decision, you always reserve the right to make a new decision.
Yeah, that's right. And I think too often, especially at this time of the year too, I think we're living too much for other people.
Yes.
Yeah. And those feelings of guilt and all of that sort of take control over our lives rather than us bringing it back to ourselves.
Yep. Agreed. So you basically then, you did a little bit more, and then you made your way back to Queensland and sort of set up shop over there, didn't you?
Yeah, so we're here in Burleigh now. We've been here for about 8 months now, I think, and just loving being settled and just having we're still traveling a lot. We're still doing weekend getaways and short trips. But it's nice to have a home base and work on projects and catch up on the pile of work that, caught up on us as we were traveling. So, it's been great to be settled for a while.
And you're not in a bad spot, just across from the beach is actually pretty nice. Eh?
Yeah, exactly. I can see the waves now if I turn out there. The surf's looking pretty good. Craig's just taking the girls out there this morning. So it's a beautiful part of the world, that's for sure. Very lucky here. And how was your year?
Look, this year's it's been crazy. It's been hectic. It's been full of both achievements and learnings. So one of the big things that happened for my wife Ange and I this year was we actually went and climbed to Mount Everest Base Camp, which
Amazing.
I didn't necessarily think I was ever going to do. So that's a, you know, that was a big one. And we happened to be there when the earthquake hit Nepal. So, so that was huge. We then also had the opportunity to do a bunch of fundraising and to send money directly into the hands of the people that live in Nepal to help rebuild their villages. So that was a pretty awesome thing to be able to do this year.
Yeah, for sure.
From a business perspective, we've had a year of leaping forward. There's been a lot of developments in the back end of my business this year, and we're set to next year run. I'm pretty sure that the count now is 60 live events next year.
Wow! And how many
Australia.
did you start? How many were you doing at the start of this year?
Well, this year that we're just finishing right now, we ran 5 live events. So that's a big
crazy.
difference.
That's huge.
It's a big difference. Yep. So that's exciting. We've grown our team. We've made heaps and heaps of advancements. So next year is going to be a big year. And the other thing that happened, or that we got done this year, is that I did this partnership with this chick I know, and we created we created an online video program that we might just let the cat out of the bag for today.
We might mention a little bit.
Yeah, so that's exciting to me because honestly, up until 2 years ago, I didn't even have a website.
Yeah.
I wasn't interested in being online. I was quite happy just having clients referred to me. You couldn't get to me unless you were referred to me, and I lived in a nice little bubble, a nice little world. And I can say from a different point of view that really what I was doing is I was in test phase to make sure that what I was going to talk about and do was actually going to have the impact I wanted it to. But geez, I really enjoyed that time.
Yeah, I bet, because it's a whole new world you're in, being sucked into now.
Yes, absolutely. So,
and how
so in the
are you
last 2
finding
years,
it? Now that you're
crazy.
in this online space, you didn't want to get in there, but now you're in it. Do you enjoy it, or?
Yeah, look, I do enjoy it. The thing that stuns me is just how much more learning there is in order to make a business really work in the online space. It's a totally different thing. It's as if that one sliver, that one section of business, it's like doing an entire MBA all over again, learning all of the things involved to make it happen. So I know for me, I'm really grateful that I have a bit of a team to help support all that happening, because there's no way it would all get done by just me.
No.
So
it's just a minefield. There's new social media sites showing up every day, and it's just so much to learn. It's crazy.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, 2 years ago I didn't have a website. Today I'm blabbing. Wow, that's fascinating. So this year has been a really big year, and I think next year is going to be even bigger. And the biggest thing for me about the end of a year is it's not about like, I suppose, celebrating the year that was. It's actually about making sure that you give yourself the credit for the things that you did, that you said you would do. For you guys hightailing it back to Queensland, making that decision, setting up shop, and being able to have that home base, that's a big decision for someone who's a gypsy at heart.
Yeah, that's right. And the gypsy heart's stirring to go again. But
yes, I'm aware.
But yeah, and I think that happens to us every day, but especially at this time of year, people, as you mentioned, are so busy. They're focused on preparing a great Christmas and New Year's celebration and moving into the next year. It's like it's just this one continual race forward. But no one's really taking the time to reflect on, as you said, what did they actually get done. And I start every year. I usually write a blog post to say what I want to achieve from that year and what I'm working on. And then at the end of the year, I do a post to reflect. So I like to go back to that post so that I can see, well, what did I sort of commit to or intend to at the beginning of the year, and how did I go at the end of the year? And it's really great doing the end of year wrap up, because, as I said, otherwise I would have just raced from this year into the next. But I actually stop and I look back and I think, wow, I actually did really do a lot. And it's once you've done it, it's so easy to just put it in the back and forget about it, and not really sort of go, oh, wow, yeah, there was a lot that actually happened that I sort of took control of.
Yeah, it's to me, there's a similarity there in I don't know if do you still keep like a written journal, do you still keep a almost like a notebook that you use each day and write notes in, or write down your objectives, or do you still do that? Or
no, I do have a journal, but I'm not as consistent as I'd like to be in keeping it. Yeah.
Yep. I find, because I actually have a couple of my older journals sitting right around here somewhere, and there they are, just there. And it's really fascinating when I pull those out and I start to just flip through the pages, and I look at lists that I'd made of things that I wanted to get done, or I look at lists that I'd made of like, say, midterm goals, midterm objectives that I was working towards. And it's really amazing, because I pull them out, and it might be 5 years later that I'm looking at them and I go, yeah, wow, I did all of that. And I can remember writing that down and going, I know I'm going to do this. But I did it. It got done. It may not have gotten done within the time frame, but it's
right. Oh,
certainly did got it back and go, yeah, all the things that I set out to get done, I really did it.
Yeah, I do tend to actually write a lot of those lists, and I just write them some.
Guys?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't see you at the moment.
Oh, okay.
It says there's an open seat. Oh, you're coming back, I think. I still can't see you. Oh, here you are.
Yep.
There you go. You're back.
Yep, I'm in. Cool.
There
And now it tells me that you've got poor audio signals. So that's okay. Let's just keep chatting.
Really?
I can still hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I do tend to write a lot of those kind of lists, and I have them sort of in random places. And I'm the same as you. I'll come across them. And I remember coming across one, it wasn't too long ago, and it was from something that I'd written, maybe 1 or 2 years previous. And I came across and read it, and it was just, I kind of wrote the list down and sort of put it aside and kept going on with what I was doing. With the intention was still there with what I wanted to create, but I wasn't always looking at that list. And I had achieved, I think, probably about 90% of the things that were on that list. And it was something that I just kind of intended without, didn't really have a clear specific plan. I was just kind of moving towards it, and maybe not even really believing that it was impossible to do it. But I did. It was like 90% of it. It was just mind-blowing to see that.
It makes a big difference in how you feel about yourself when you review those things, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's kind of like, oh, wow, I did that. I didn't think it was possible. So is there benefit then to recommend to people to do like lists or goals, objectives like that as a daily thing, or should it be more often?
Look, I think there's so many people out there that probably don't do it at all, that if you can do it like weekly, if you can do it monthly, well, that's going to be really beneficial. I was reading a post the other day about having a 90-day plan. So basically every quarter, I can't remember who wrote that post, but every quarter there's a day booked, and that day is for nothing other than reviewing the previous 90 days and planning the next 90 days.
Oh, I love
And
that.
every
That
quarter
is
that
really
happens.
great.
Yeah. Yep. That's a really good system to implement.
Yeah.
The other thing is that there's a variety of ways that you can. So for me, I tend to either write a list in a journal, like just a paper journal that I keep with me all the time. I'll write a list, and then I'll make notes of things that happen in days. But I also, in the past, and this isn't something I've done any of this year, and it's something I'm going to implement this coming year. In the past, I've done lots of drawing. Now,
Right.
I'm a terrible artist. Like, I don't draw very well at all.
Yeah.
It's not
Stick
something that
figures.
looks Yeah,
I've seen your stick figures in our course.
Yes, exactly. Okay, good. So it's not about being a good drawer. And what I find is when I draw something, the act of physically creating it with my hand, it somehow does seem to spark the manifestation of it faster.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going out today to grab a physical paper, not a diary, but a notebook, just a lined paper notebook that is going to be sturdy enough that I can carry around with me most of the time. And I'll use it to make notes in, to write down ideas, to just document things. And I'm setting an intention to make sure I use that every week. And I am going to look at that 90-day system of booking a day out of all interaction with anybody else and having that day as a planning day and a review day for the previous 90 days.
Yeah, Craig and I just had our first work retreat that we did. We had 3 days. Where we went away, and Craig's mum came to mind the girls, and we just bunkered down in a house and reviewed and planned, and it was such a great thing to do that we were like, well, we want to do this more often, because the whole reviewing part, which is kind of like brings it back to like reviewing your year, we're going back and looking at our blog and business, what's working, what's not, and then based upon that information that we have, making plans to grow and improve.
Cool. So in the review, or in that session, because that only happened like last week, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Okay. So were there things that you guys talked about or looked at or reviewed that hadn't necessarily been front of mind from what you'd done in the last year?
In what?
Like, were there things that you went, oh yeah, we actually did do that this year. Like, we set out to do that and we did get it done, or we did, and I hadn't necessarily realized how much that had taken to get that done.
I don't know if we actually did really find something like that, or not something that I can think of at the moment. Something will probably pop up. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good. What that says is that everything that you actually were intentional about getting done this year, you're aware that you did it.
Yeah, well, I guess we're aware of yeah. Maybe we're probably aware of it, but as like we've spoken a lot of in the course that we've done and conversations that we had, aware that we've done it, but not really acknowledged it or focused on it, just kind of skated over it, and like, okay, let's do the next thing now. Sort of, maybe that was what was happening. Yeah.
Shall we talk a little bit about this course that we've mentioned a couple of times? Because we're sitting here talking about reviewing the year that's been, at a time when a lot of people are talking about planning and being clear on your goals for next year. And so the course that we've created is it's all about building confidence in yourself. It's about gaining confidence and control over your life and your business and your relationships. It's about being able to create in your life what you choose to create. And our conversation today has been a lot about, in reviewing the year, acknowledging what you've actually achieved in the last year. And I know my experience in coaching hundreds of people over the last 10 years, my experience has been that the people that run businesses, that a lot of people think they're really confident. A lot of people think that they've got it all worked out. A lot of people think that, you know, their experience of life is they obviously know something that I don't know. And my experience over the last 10 years has been that that's the furthest thing from the truth. that every business owner has insecurities. They have self-talk that doesn't serve them. They have issues with things that they think they can't do, or things they don't know how to do that they think they should know how to do. Every single business owner, and in coaching lots of mums, every single mum has a similar experience with that. So we've created this program for that specific reason, because there's a way to ensure that you are building your own confidence. Confidence isn't something that's just naturally gifted to you. There's a way to build it. Do you want to talk a little bit without, we don't want to go into too much detail, but do you want to talk from your perspective? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I can talk. I was speaking to one of my best friends on the phone last night, and she's managing her kids on her own at the moment. They're going through a big move, and so her partner is remaining behind to finish off work, and she's made the move for the kids. And she was just talking a lot about her own fears and her struggles, and how can, she's worried about the damage she's doing to her kids. And I think mothers in particular worry about this all the time. What are our decisions that we're making? We just have this fear or belief that we're going to somehow damage our kids. And I just said to her, look, there's always going to be something going on in your head where you're thinking you're damaging your kids. You're never going to understand the outcome of your actions. And surely there's going to be something along the line that your kids will have to work out, as mine will too. But just stop and pause for a minute and think about all the good things that you do and the ways that you're a really good mother, and focus on that. And I had another friend of mine, we had this conversation a couple of years ago, and as mothers, and we said, we're always worried about how we're damaging our kids, but we never stop to think about the good things that we're doing. So we used to send random text messages to each other, and with just a little message about what an awesome mum you were, and I saw that you did this for your child, and just sent a little message like that. And it was just really so great to get that message. And and she would say the same, they always came at the moment when we really needed them and we were really feeling down on ourselves. And so I think what I've learned through you, and what we talk about in our course that's really powerful, is just that process of taking a pause and just focusing instead on not how you get it all wrong, but maybe the good things that you are doing and how you're doing it right. And just turn that critical voice, that horrible voice, into something that's a little bit more positive and supportive.
It's funny. We've created this course, and thanks. I'm really glad that you've learned that from me. The thing I'll say is that I'm not an expert at this. I'm not perfect at this. Like I had a realization just last week that this year for me was really, really busy. Like I have been trucking. There's been so much work that has been produced, and most of the work that's been produced has been behind the scenes stuff. It's not stuff that's visible, and it's not stuff that generates money. It's stuff that's in preparation. And so a lot of it has been essentially like new project work, right? And it is stunning, because just last week I had a realization that there was an enormous number of things that I had done this year that I hadn't actually acknowledged myself for. I hadn't actually gone, okay, yeah, that's a new project. I've learned this, and this by doing it. And all this, it was really tremendous. And I found that I was actually getting like a little bit short with myself, and a little bit, there was a bit of frustration that was setting in. It was like, whoa, geez, all stemming from just not being aware of all the things that I had actually achieved or gotten done, or the agreements that I'd kept with myself. So this is a pretty big topic, and it's not something that is. I don't think that there's like a finish line that you cross where, okay, that's it, I've got that licked. It's actually a constant agreement with yourself to be aware of and acknowledge yourself for things that you've done. So confidence is such a self-confidence and self-esteem is something that we create for ourselves. It's not something that just, can be ignored. And what I'm really hopeful for from this course that we've produced is that it's really going to have that massive impact for people in terms of the way they feel about themselves and the way that they feel about the jobs that they're doing, whether that job is as a mum or as a business owner.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, I am a mum and I am a business owner, and just from what I've learnt from you, it's helped me in both parts of my life a lot. And obviously it's important for me from a business perspective, but most important as a mother, it's important to me because I feel that is obviously my most important role. And I have two beautiful children who are at the moment in their lives dependent on me to be the best that I can, to help them be the best that they can. And just the tools and strategies that I've used from you that I'm applying, I'm feeling way less overwhelmed with my business and with being a mother as well, which is the most important thing for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yep. It's an important subject, and it's a subject that's not taught in schools anywhere. It's a subject that's not, I certainly never learned it in school. I never learned it through any curriculum. I never even learned it at university. So pretty important.
And these are the most important things, because confidence is what brings the control back to our life. And when we have that confidence and control, there is so much more that we can do. We make better decisions. We design a life that we like more, and we're better in the way that we communicate and interact with each other. And I used to be a primary school teacher, so I know all too well about the system, and I'm quite anti-system because I've seen what it does to children's confidence and control, and I know how damaging that is. And I think we all have stories, I'm sure, of how school in some way affected us in a really negative way, which had this domino effect. There's so much in regards to bullying and comparing yourselves to other students and feeling like a failure all the time because you might not be, reaching the grade in a certain subject doesn't mean that you're not capable. It's just the system telling you that you're not good enough. And so the school doesn't do that. And so we especially as adults, this is stuff I want children to learn. And as adults, it's something we have to learn at a stage in our life. It's far too late. Like, we should be learning it in school.
Yeah. I'm reminded of a story right now that it's a story that from my youth when I don't remember how old I was. I think I was 8 or 10, or maybe I was 12. I'm not sure. So I was pretty young. And I've always been a big person. Like I'm not a small fella. And so growing up, I was always bigger than everybody else in my class. And I remember this one day, and then I'll relate this to what we're talking about. I remember this one day I was out at recess, we used to call it. So at break, at lunchtime, and we're out in the park playing, just having a laugh. And then one of my mates, we were spinning around, and I got in trouble because I had hit this guy in the chest, like just underneath the solar plexus. I'd hit him, my hand hit him, and it knocked the wind out of him.
Wow, yeah.
And one of the teachers came over, and I got sent to the principal's office because I had hit somebody. And so I'm in the principal's office, and I think I was crying, and the principal called my mum, because this other kid was like, it had the wind knocked out of him. It really scared him. It really frightened him. And so the teacher was really upset with me. The principal was really, really upset with me because I'm bigger. I should know better. And so my mum comes into the principal's office, and my mum sits down and goes, "Well, what happened?" "Oh, I hit him in the chest." That's what I said. I was really honest. I was really honest. I hit him in the chest. She goes, "Okay, but why? What happened? What were you doing? Like what was the scenario?" And the principal was ready to suspend me, and like I was going to get sent home. And my mum knew that, now hold on, my son doesn't do that. And so mum asked a bunch more questions and went, what were you doing? Like, what were you guys doing? What were you playing? What was happening? And I said, "Oh, well, mum, we were all spinning around with our arms out, like spinning around like helicopters, just spinning on the spot." And I got a little bit dizzy, and I think he got a little bit dizzy. And so he got close to me. And as I was spinning, my hand just hit him in the chest. And my mum just sat back and looked at the principal, and the principal looked at me and went, "Michael, you are a very lucky young man to have a mother that knows you the way that she does." And that was it. Like, situation over.
Over.
Now, yeah, that was it. I didn't get suspended. I didn't get, like, she was able to, by asking questions, she was able to bring out or bring to light the truth of what had actually happened in the moment, rather than taking the point of view, "Michael, why did you do that? Why did you bloody hit somebody else?" And I raise that because it's the skill of communication that has such a big impact on self-confidence, because it's the way that we communicate with others, but it's also the way that we communicate with ourselves. And we go into a lot of detail about that in the course that we created together.
Yes.
So that, yeah. So now you, so that I tell that story because our communication has such a big impact on the way we feel. It has such a big impact on the way we perceive ourselves and the way we perceive others. So.
So it's paying attention to the words you say to yourself, but then having the ability to communicate effectively with others.
Yeah, well, if that moment could have gone really a different way, and if it had gone a different way, it would have really impacted my self-confidence, because my mum, thankfully, chose to come in and ask questions to find out what really happened. Like, my son doesn't just hit people. What really happened here? What's the background to the story? What really was going on that created this situation? So she chose to come in and ask lots of questions.
My concern is there, why didn't the teachers ask those questions? And the
Crazy,
principal, that's just,
I know.
for me, I'm like, that's just crazy they didn't ask you those questions to figure that out. They were just ready to jump on you as doing the wrong thing.
The only thing that I can put that down to is that, like, I was a much bigger person, as in size. Right. Like, I'm a big person. I'm not a small person. And the kid that it happened to was a small person, like not as big as me. So the only thing I can put it down to is they jumped straight to conclusions that I was a bully and I was bullying him. And so now let's look at what could have happened had mum come in and listened to the principal and listened to the teacher and then gotten upset with me.
Yeah, totally.
Michael, why did you do that? I can't believe you would hurt another person. Right, that's it. You're in trouble, and
we've taught you better than this. Yeah. Totally. Actually, I have a similar story where it's similar in the fact that I was yanked out of class one day. This was when I was in high school, and the teacher just pulled me out of class and started abusing me and was saying, because I was a peer support leader. So that was called peer support. So I was in year 10 and the new students coming in year 7 were buddied up with someone from year 10 to help them orientate them around the school. Sure. And she started abusing me about she knew that I was not good enough and I was not doing something. I had done something wrong, and I still to this day have no idea at all what I had done wrong. She just ripped into me, said all these horrible things about what an awful person I was, and if I don't do better, then she was going to kick me out of the thing, and stormed off. And I was standing there going, I don't even know what I've done wrong. And that has had a huge impact upon my confidence, because I know it comes up all the time for me. It's still so crystal clear to me, that moment. So I know that that's something that has really affected my life. Yeah. And maybe if I had better communications back then, I would have, instead of just listening to her, would have maybe said, can you please explain what I've done wrong before you start abusing me and give me a chance to defend myself? That's it. Yeah, absolutely. I just realized, Kaz, that we've got a question. So Andre's joined. I'm pretty sure it's Andre. He's team 1. I'm trying to reply to Andre, but I can't for some reason. I don't know if it's because I'm in Chrome, but I can't seem to type a message. Can you? Hold on, and I will give it a go. But you can just answer straight up by talking. Yeah, I can. So Andre, I'm originally. Oh, you said yep. I'm originally from Boston, so I grew up in the United States, and I have traveled the world pretty extensively. I moved to Sydney when I was 21, and living in Sydney, my best mates were all English, Irish, Scottish, yes, South African as well, Kiwis and a few Australians chucked in for good measure. And I've lived in Australia now since 1997. So I live on the west coast of Australia over in Perth, so a small little city that's basically a mining town. And Kaz is on the East Coast in a place called Burleigh Heads. Yep. Thanks for joining us, by the way. Thanks, Andre. And when I first met Mike, I thought maybe he was from South Africa too. I was like, I cannot pick your accent. I can't get it. Yeah. I'm getting a sense of South Africa. So yeah. And my wife is from Canada. So Andre, where have you been? Have you been to Perth or have you been to Boston? And if you want, Andre, feel free to jump in. You can come in and have a chat with us. Come in and have a chat. There he is. I'm sure Mike knows how to roll. I don't know how to run that, but here he is.
Hang on, let me just. I don't know. I'm still new on this blab thing, so I'm not sure. Can you hear me? You're definitely from South Africa, aren't you? Yeah, I thought so when I heard Andre. I thought so. I'm from Cape Town, but I live in Las Vegas for the last 10 years.
Wow!
Really?
Big change. Wow.
I just couldn't place your accent. You said a few words which we say in South Africa, and I thought, no man, it's either British or he's lived half his life somewhere, half his life somewhere else. Because it didn't sound American. Yep. No, definitely not. And my
especially not from Boston.
No, that's right. And one of my best mates here in Perth is from South Africa. He grew up in Joburg, and his parents live in Cape Town, still over in Simonstown. Yeah, so, I was actually born in Simonstown.
Oh wow!
Where are you? And, so I lived in Cape Town, and I've visited Perth, Brisbane, Sydney, most of the world too. Stayed in London for 2 years, and I've been in the States now for just over 10 years.
Wow! Fantastic. And you love living in Vegas?
Listen, there's nowhere better in the world. I don't know. There's no mosquitoes. There's no earthquakes. There's no hurricanes. There's no snow. There's no freezing. It gets cold like I suppose Australia gets in winter, and not too much rain. So it's pretty good, and it's the cheapest place in America to live.
Wow!
Perfect. There you go. And so, do you work on the strip, or what do you do there? No. I just play some poker on the strip or go have a party now and again. My stuff's on the internet, and I used to be involved with motivational speaking and stuff like that. And now I specialize in YouTube and put out YouTube channels and use AdSense monetization, stuff like that.
Fantastic. Oh, cool.
Do networking and stuff. That's it. Just try to make the income off the machine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about too much.
Yeah. Very good. then you can live where you want to live and travel when you want to travel.
Yeah, well, I don't travel. Yeah, I'm still in a massive process of political asylum. I was in military before apartheid ended, and so I'm stuck in America, put it that way, but I'm okay with that.
Oh, okay. Well, America has a lot to see.
Correct. I've been traveling around. Yeah, I also train a canine search and rescue dog. So in case of civilian supporting, if there's massive earthquake somewhere, not in Vegas, hopefully, we can maybe help. And that's about it.
Yeah, cool. So what's your take on what's happening in South Africa right now? It's an interesting time over there, eh?
Well, I also do paper trading a lot on the stock exchanges and that.
Okay, yeah.
What's happening is, well, I don't know if you know, but nobody knows. But I would suggest that in the next 12 to 18 months, you'll have the biggest crash the world's ever seen on the stock markets, because it's been following that sort of trend. If you go back down to Germany after the First World War, what happened there when they started printing money? If you compare the graphs, we're due soon. And South Africa is following Zimbabwe at the moment, where their currency depreciated by about 26% in the last 3 days. So going that way too. So I love South Africa. I think it's a beautiful country. It is a beautiful country, but it's in a mess. And in the end of the day, I don't know. Look at Rhodesia and Zimbabwe, and look at who's running the country and how they're running the country. For example, in Zimbabwe, I don't know if you know, but currently in Zimbabwe, they only have power for 3 hours a day. Because they've got to rotate it, power in your house. If you don't have a generator, you toast. In South Africa at the moment, they're cutting power up to 2 to 3 hours a day across the country on a rotation.
Wow.
When the new governments took over the country, they didn't decide to build the electric plants bigger. They just left them the same size, and they're now 30, 40 years old. So they got problems over there. Beautiful country, but problems. That's all I can say. But I love the country.
Yeah. Yep, sure. It's a beautiful place.
Still love the rugby, though. Rugby's still okay.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever met a South African who doesn't love the rugby.
Yeah,
no.
That was good. It was a good World Cup too this year. But,
it was. The Kiwis were.
Yeah, they won again.
Worthy of winning.
Yep, they won again. There was back to back. That was a record. Nobody's ever gone back to back.
No. Well, they're the far better team.
Yep.
Well, they're born to play, eh? That's all they do there.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's
happened? So what's happened in your year this year?
Wow, it's been a long year. My mom and dad both passed. Was one.
Sorry.
But it's been a long year, but a good year. I can't put it in any other way. It's been a good year, and next year will be another good year. I always believe, you are what you say, what you think. So whatever comes out of your mouth, whatever you think, that's what you are. So if you know what you want in life, it's not a problem. Most people don't know what they want in life, and that's why they're stuck in a doldrum or whatever you want to call it. And I always say to people, plant roses instead of planting weeds, because if everything you hear in a day that goes in your ears, people don't realize if you went to bed at night, you could print out everything you heard that made your life better and everything you heard that didn't make your life better. You'll find that most people on their printout would have a lot more things that they went into the years that didn't make their life better. And that's why they're in life, which is a mess. That's why most people's in a mess, because they don't understand the ability that they have as people to change anything and have anything they want. They first got to understand it themselves. And I try to help people with that, just trying to show them a different way of looking at life and maybe fixing things up, which doesn't cost money. People always think it costs money to do something. And I've always said, if it had to cost money to do something, then there won't be anything higher in life. I believe we're all equal and we all have the ability to do anything. It's just that most people don't know that. I try to show them how to understand that, and maybe they change their life. But in the end of the day, there's two types of people in the world. You got horses and you got jockeys, and for there to be jockeys, there always has to be horses, and that's just how it is.
Yeah, so true.
Yep. It is. That's very true. Yep.
I like what you said about that analogy about what goes on the paper at the end of the day.
Yep.
Yeah. You see, I say, people think I'm crazy sometimes, but I say a lot of affirmations. If I say something positive that loud enough so my ears can hear, because what I learned was if you're saying nothing, you must be very careful of what you're thinking or what you're hearing. So people's in a negative environment with friends and everybody's bitching. That's all they're doing, but sitting there. It's input into their ears, conditioning their subconscious, okay? So the only way to uncondition yourself is to tell yourself something loud enough that your ears can hear. Say it enough times, and then you won't have the time to think about something that's not working. So you're planting roses instead of planting weeds. If you can plant more roses in a day than you plant weeds, you win.
Yeah.
More weeds in a day than you plant roses, you lose. There's no cut and dried here. I can sit with somebody for half an hour and I'll tell you what their life's like just by listening to what they say.
Yeah, what they say. That's so true. Yeah. One thing that I recommend all the time to people, one really simple thing that people can do to start planting those roses and make such an easy change is to stop watching the news. Just don't turn it off. Don't let it come into their environment, because all you hear is a crash here, a murder here, a bomb here. I mean, there's nothing good about that at all. And your subconscious doesn't need to be taking that in. It's just such a simple thing. You just turn it off, put music on instead.
Correct. But also a dangerous thing is music. Oh, I don't want to be funny about music, but if you had to
choose what you listen to carefully.
Yes. But a lot of it's no joke. But I like music in the sense of a lot of music that doesn't have much words in it. So talking instrumental stuff that you can just like the music. But if you had to listen to, I'd say 80% of everybody under the age of 25 what they listen to today, I'm gonna fuck your mother and kill you up there and all this stuff. But they don't, and they listen to it over and over and over and over and over. All they're doing is they're conditioning their subconscious, and you have the ability to turn thought into the physical. Very few people, they don't understand that. So if you have the ability to turn thought into the physical, you must be very careful what you're thinking. Or what you're conditioning yourself to believe, because if you believe, I mean, it's like anything. Most of us never saw our birth certificate until we were about 13 or 14 years old. None of us. I mean, most people don't at the age of 6 ask mom and dad to show me your birth certificate. Yeah. But your name is Mike, and sorry, your name is, what's your name?
Kaz.
Your name is Kaz. But when you grew up your whole life, you told everybody your name's Kaz. And then when you saw your birth certificate and it said Tiffany, you most probably would have gone to your mother and says, what the hell's going on here? I mean, I tell everybody I'm Kaz, and this thing says I'm Tiffany. And she says, you know what? Well, we put you down as Tiffany, but 3 days later we decided to call you Kaz, but we've never changed that. Now, you won't go to all your friends and say, call me Tiffany, because you Kaz, finished. It's just, that's how it is. And that's the word that you heard more than anything else in your life. So you believed it with no question at all. That's all that humans are, is they've been conditioned to believe what somebody wanted them to believe. And because every single thing, today people have got a lot more freedom because they can go investigate via internet and go deep and then make an informed decision about what they believe. But until 20, 30 years ago or whatever, every single thing you believed was either told to you by somebody or it was written in a book. And that was that. And if somebody wrote something in a book, you believed it. But you got to ask who decided that what's written in that book is right, and who decided that people have got to learn that now. So in the end of the day, it's just, I just feel that people haven't been given the ability to understand what they're capable of.
I guess, Mike, that all comes back down to confidence, doesn't it?
I was about to say, I think, Andre, you based on what I'm hearing from you, you would really like we've created a program that we're launching next year called the Confidence Igniter. And yeah, a lot of what you're talking about is what we talk about in that program. And I think the
Oh, hello. Andre and I are waiting on the edge of our seats. What's the interesting thing from Mike?
Internet must have frozen there or something.
I was like, wow, this must be
interesting thing for me.
I thought he's about to come out with you. Just stopped for 1 second. He was composing exactly what he was going to say. Then I thought, no, maybe he's seeing something come up with his computer, which he's reading. And then I realized, no, yeah.
That was funny. Mike, you're back. You had us on the edge of the seat there. You're about to reveal your big moment, and then you were just
that line, and then you
silent.
And
we're like, Mike, you're gone.
Are you there, guys?
Yeah.
Can you hear us? We can hear you.
Yeah.
I'll send you a text. We can hear you. No, he's gone again. That was so funny. In Australia, Andre, the internet connection is not always reliable.
It's shocking.
Here he is. He's back. I was just about to text you. We couldn't hear you and see you before, but you must have been able to hear us.
I'm so sorry. I'm not going anywhere. I just got.
No problem.
Yep.
We were cracking up because you were about to do the big reveal about what was interesting, and then you kind of froze, but we didn't realize you had frozen, so we were sitting there and we're like, okay, so he's building the momentum. And then both of us at the same time went, and Mike, are you there? And realized you were frozen and gone.
So it was a really good pause for effect, was it?
It really was. It was so well timed.
Oh, that's hilarious. There you go. So I don't know what you heard and what you didn't, but basically what I was saying is that I think you'd really like the confidence igniter, Andre, because I think most people don't actually know what is it that creates the weeds that grow in their mind, as opposed to making different choices to ensure that they're planting vegetables or whatever else that they really want to grow, the positive things that are going to impact their life. And we spend a fair bit of time going through that in the Confidence Igniter program in really specific detail. So
sorry guys, I've picked up an emergency. I'm going to follow both of you if you don't mind.
Sure.
And next time you're having a chat, I'd love to get on again with you guys and have a bit of
awesome.
I wasn't planning to have a long chat now, but I forgot about a meeting. And because the sun's going down so early in America at the moment, it's a bit confusing. You know, you think it's late, but it's not late and it's dark, you know.
Right, yeah.
Awesome.
So thanks, guys. I'll catch up with you. Thanks for the chat.
Thanks for joining us, Andre.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah, that was cool. Awesome.
Yeah. So when he said, I noticed he said most people don't know what they want. Do you think it's they don't know what they want, or they do know but they're not confident enough to say what they want? Because I think surely everyone knows what they want.
I think it can be both. I think that there's some people that really don't know what they want, and the way that feels, or the way that can come across, is they just feel like they don't have clarity.
Yeah.
When I review the last 10 years and the clients that I've worked with, there's one thing in common with all of the clients that I've worked with. And the one thing that's common is that they feel like they don't have clarity. Now, that might be that they feel like they don't have clarity on a decision that they're making, like whether or not to do this business or this business. It may feel like they don't have clarity in terms of like, what's wrong? What's the reason I'm not able to achieve this? It may feel like they don't. There's so many different ways that a lack of clarity can come up. But I think that's really what tends to happen. They might know what they want, but not feel that they're clear on how to go about getting it or what to do in order to change their circumstance.
And that's why I feel like doing this year in review and spending time on doing that is really important, because I feel like it gives me clarity and it kind of clears, because you don't know what you don't know, but you can know if you stop and pause and reflect and look back and review and what's worked and what hasn't, what felt good, what didn't. And that can kind of give you the clarity and the power then to move into the next phase, which is next year, which is planning and taking the action steps to then move closer to what it is that you do want.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, it's I think it supports you to make those decisions, and in order to make a decision, go ahead.
No, you go.
In order to make a decision, it's important to have clarity on all aspects of the decision. You making a decision is about collecting information and deciding what you're saying yes to, and that brings you through a matrix of decisions so that you can say yes to this thing.
And yes, with confidence. And that's where the knowledge comes from, the knowing. Yeah. And I think next year we'll have a blab topic just on maybe decision making and the process of making decisions and
100%.
the knowingness that comes from it. Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
So our next blab is going to be January, first week of January, first Thursday of January, isn't it?
Yeah. Is it the 7th?
Yes.
I think it's the 7th.
I couldn't remember the date, the 7th.
Yep.
And
pretty confident.
We'll be talking about setting yourself up for a great 2016.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We will. Awesome.
So if we could offer if we offer everyone maybe a simple action step to take about reviewing, well, maybe if we just finish with how do you then do your year review and look back on it?
Yep. So for me, I like what you said about having that blog post at the start of the year and then actually looking at that blog post and going, well, what did I get done there? Whether you have a blog post that you've written, whether you have a list that you wrote, whether you're the person who created, a New Year's resolution, however it works for you, just take the time at some point in the next week to look back on the year that you've had and look at the decisions that you made about what you were choosing to create for that year. And without judging yourself, just evaluate what agreements did you keep? What were the things that you did that supported you to have the year that you've had? It's also worthwhile to take a look at, okay, well, what were the things I said I was going to do that I didn't actually do? And what's the reason I didn't do them? What happened there? What did I justify? Did I make an excuse? Like what or did I just make a new decision? It's definitely important and worthwhile to acknowledge yourself for all of the things that you did get done in the last year. And that will drive you forward for next year, feeling good about yourself, feeling confident, feeling like you are able to move forward and get more things done next year.
Yeah, that's great. I love that what you just mentioned, look at the things that didn't work and evaluate why. Was it just a new decision or was it because you
evaluate what happened? Did you justify? Did you rationalize? Did you make an excuse? Did you believe a lie? What actually happened that meant that you didn't get that thing done? So that's, I think if everybody spends time in the next week reviewing and evaluating the last year and particularly acknowledging themselves for the agreements that they did keep, you're setting yourself up for a good start to next year. So
yeah,
cool.
Absolutely agree. Awesome. Thanks for blabbing, Mark. Our first blab.
Thank you, Kay. I know, it's been fun.
Good.
And
it's fun. I like it.
It is, and I'm looking forward to the next one. So it'll be interesting to see and see where we get to next year. Yeah.
So this is going to be Mike and I blabbing regularly next year. we're aiming for once a week, but we both do have pretty crazy travel schedules that might interrupt that here and there, but we'll do our best to work around that.
Yeah, we'll allow ourselves to be okay if we don't do a week here or there.
Absolutely. And we'll celebrate, acknowledge every time that we get it done.
Absolutely. Sweet. Thanks for jumping on, Cass.
You too, Mike. Have a great day.
You too, mate. Talk soon. See you, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.